Hey, what's up YouTube? Quite some time ago I showcased on my YouTube channel a Fog of War system, and today is finally the day I publicly release it. I've recently cleaned the project, fixed some bugs and limitations, improved performance, and drastically improved the user experience. It is blueprint based, so don't expect to run a fully fledged AAA multiplayer RTS game with it right off the bat, okay? You might run into limitations, one being that it is not replicated and have performance issues with many units if you go crazy, but I believe it's a very decent starting point. The project is extremely clean, documented, and it's as easy to use as it can get. Let's get to it. Alright, so the project is bundled with this demo map, showcasing the many ways an actor can participate in the Fog of War. Let's press play and see what's going on. Right away you can see that the Fog of War isn't super detailed, and that's probably the first setting that you may want to tweak. That's super easy, just get the Fog of War manager in the scene and adjust the resolution to your likings. You don't necessarily need to go super high, like even 64 by 64 pixels could work depending on how you process the Fog of War, and to illustrate that, there's a couple post-process examples that you can choose from. The first one, for instance, will have that cell look, if that's what you're going after. The third one shows a textured passive Fog of War. The second one a sort of noisy Fog of War thingy. And the first one is pretty much the standard one. So obviously the Fog of War resolution is tied to the render target size, but also how large the Fog of War itself is, right? And that is controlled by the map extent, that's in centimeters. So that's 3.2 kilometers that way and that way, so that's a total of 6.4 kilometers. To help you visualize this, there's a drawbones function that you can call here to see if the captured area is enough for your RTS map or whatever. Note that nothing in this system is ticking, it's all controlled by timers, so you can also tweak the update rate for whatever reason, but I think the default values work well enough. That's 60, 30 and 4 FPS update rates. And that's pretty much it for the settings available in the Fog of War manager. Now let's jump back into play mode, move around and see what the system is capable of. To the bottom left corner we have a static actor. Its Fog of War is started right away on begin play, as you can see. Let's open the actor. It's pretty much empty. All you have to do really for any unit to participate in the Fog of War is to add that component to it. It's very lightweight, doesn't tick, and owns a couple of settings. Like the intensity of that unit's Fog of War, it will most likely be 1, like the tooltip says, but you can increase it or reduce it, and that can be changed at runtime as well. You can set that unit's Fog of War radius, that's in centimeters, and its radius hardness, so 0 would be a very smooth radial gradient and 1 would be a super harsh circle. And then you can specify if that actor is meant to be static, like a building or anything like that. That will draw the unit's Fog of War on a separate render target, which is only updated when it needs to be, so that's like a performance settings. Tick that if your unit is indeed static. And you'll actually see that the only difference between those two blueprint actors is that the dynamic one has this setting turned off. Last important thing is the auto activate option. If on, that actor will participate in the Fog of War right away, just like those two actors do. If not, you will have to activate it yourself, so let's see how you do that. Here we have two actors with sphere triggers. If we overlap with that one, that actor's Fog of War smoothly fades in and fades out if we move out of the sphere trigger. Notice what I call the passive Fog of War is now updated, and we can still partially see what that building once saw. And that other actor is a one-time trigger thing. Let's check how it's made. Again, super easy. I have a sphere volume. Upon overlap with my pawn, I get that actor's Fog of War component, called start participation, and that's it. The other one has an end overlap event, which calls end participation, and voila. Yeah, there's not much else to it really. We have that other actor up here, which shows a similar thing but with a movable actor. And again, the only difference is that this tick box is now unchecked, but it has the same logic. Very, very simple. Below are a couple more examples to show you that a unit may change its radius and radius hardness at runtime. They both run a simple function on a timer like this one, get the fog of war component, set the radius, call function again later, and that's it. Now there's a tiny limitation, meaning if that actor is meant to be static, meaning that fog of war component has this tick box checked, you have to tell the fog of war manager, hey, a static unit has been updated, in case it's asleep, because again, static units are rendered on a separate render target only when needed. So yeah, again, very simple, very elegant solution, I believe. It's as performant as you're gonna get with Blueprint and render targets. There are ways to improve performance, and I mentioned that in the fog of war manager in this function, you may want to batch render multiple units fog of war at once, instead of looping through every unit and drawing their fog of war one by one. But that can get complicated quite quickly, and I wanted to keep the project as simple as possible, so it can be as educational as possible. Alright, that's it I guess. Files are available on Gumroad and on my Patreon. Links are in the description below. Shout out to all you guys that helped me regarding my last YouTube video, both on YouTube and Twitter. I actually got a ton of help on Twitter, and it seems like my statement regarding my issue being unsolvable isn't true, although it's still a bit sketchy. There's Blutility widgets, editor checkable actors, save files, and all kind of workarounds, so stay tuned for that. I might do a follow-up video. Consider leaving a like and subscribe if you don't want to miss all the upcoming cool projects I have in store. Also, shout out to my very first patrons. Let me butcher your name real quick. Jacob Shipley, Stefan Nemata, and my good buddy Ira. Thanks for the support, means the world to me. Thank you. Next video will either be a small tutorial or another release project, I'm not sure yet. But yeah, stay tuned. Also consider following my Twitter account. I post all kind of tips and some of my random doodles and work in progress, like that one from yesterday. I had a blast fooling around with Niagara. It's awesome. Check the link in the description below if you want to know how that was made. Anyway, thanks for your time. See ya!